why did you think this is so unique and powerful and you picked this asset class?
I think for me, I love the fact that I'm just shuffling paper or touching keyboards and making money. I don't have to deal with anything physical, and I don't have to deal with renters. So, I mean, Vicky, if you want, I can walk you step by step through my model so that
I
you
would
and the
love that.
listeners can replicate it. So, okay, where do you live?
I live in California,
You're in California. Okay,
in the Bay
so
Area.
in the Bay Area. Okay, so you've lost all complaining privileges, but we'll put that to the side for now. Okay, so let's assume that you own 5 acres of raw land where I live in
Hmm.
Arizona, and
Hmm.
you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising two important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in California, the property's in Arizona. And number
Hmm.
two, you're financially distressed in some weird way because we don't
Hmm.
pay for things like our property taxes. We don't
Hmm.
value them in the same way. As a
Hmm.
result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Vicky, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax
Hmm.
deed or a tax lien investor.
This is the Real Estate Vibe Show, and I'm your host, Vinki Loomba. I'm a real estate investor and a fund manager. And on this show, we go beyond the basics to uncover real estate strategies, real stories, and real opportunities to help you build wealth through real estate. Today, our guest is none other than the Land Geek, Mark Podolsky. I hope I said your name right. With 20 years of experience and over 6,000 land deals to his name, Mark is the go-to authority in raw land investing. He has built a powerhouse business flipping and leasing land that most investors overlook. And today, he's breaking down why this quiet corner of real estate might just be the right fit for you. So welcome to the Real Estate Vibe Show, Mark.
Vinky, thank you so much for having me. I'm a big fan. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm super excited to learn from you today. And today we'll be discussing the freedom shift, smart strategies to escape solo economic dependency. So, solo economic dependency is when your entire financial life depends on one source of active income, like your W-2 job. It's a risky setup that leaves no room for freedom or flexibility. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how to break free from that trap by creating passive income through raw land investing and why it might be one of the smartest wealth building strategy for you. So let's start with a big idea. What exactly is solo economic dependency and why is such a dangerous trap for most people?
Yeah, so Vinky, it's such a good question because I think most of us might be in it and don't even realize it, which means
Mhm.
that if you're personally not working, you're not generating any income. So anybody with a W-2 job, solopreneurs, uh, freelancers. Let's pick on people who've solved their money problems, but not their time problems. Doctors, lawyers. Let's pick on the dentist. So if the
Mhm.
dentist's hands aren't in the patient's mouth, the dentist isn't generating any income. And so at some point in time, even if you love what you're doing, you are at risk. You could get
Mhm.
hurt. You could get sick. You could burn out. And having this one, or you could get laid off. Having this one source of income, being so economically dependent is risky. And I think that the cure for it is passive income. And ideally, you build your passive income where it's uh, exceeds your fixed expenses. And then you're working because you want to, not because you have to.
Wow, I love it the way you put it. That was the correct way to put it. But let me ask you this. When was your wake-up call? What was that moment when you got this, like the inner call, okay, this is it. I need to have multiple income streams. One is not going to be enough for me. Like you already mentioned, a lot of people, they're in it, but they don't realize it.
Yeah. So I was meeting a buddy of mine, my mentor, Ori. He sold his company for $365 million. And we're
Mhm.
meeting for coffee, and he's asking me about my business.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, Ori, my business is going great. He's like, oh, tell me. He's like, what are you doing day to day? I'm like, well, I wake up early and I'm on the phone and I'm working on my spreadsheets. And then I sell some land, and then I go to Kinko's and I create a buyer package for them. And then I come back and I look for some more land, and then I buy the land, and then I start marking the land, and I work this 12-hour day, and it's amazing. He's like, don't insult me and call yourself an entrepreneur because you have no business. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, if you die tomorrow, what happens to your so-called business? What's going to happen to your family? And I'm like, well, it feels like a business because I'm making my own hours. He's like, but that's not, you just built a better job for yourself compared to what you were doing before.
I know.
And so he
Mhm.
said, look, if Steve Jobs died, this is before Steve Jobs died, Apple's not going to go out of business. He's like, an entrepreneur builds something bigger than themselves. So he started showing me, like, how do you start building a true business where I'm the least valuable person in the business, and having inexpensive virtual assistants, software, and processes and systems to really scale.
I love that actually, because a lot of people, what happen is when they leave their corporate job or W-2 job and they start their own business. I have seen that multiple times, from my experience I'm talking about. They think they know it all and they wanted to do it a certain way. They think it's my baby. I wanted to run it the way I wanted to do it without realizing that they got into something that's called GOB as well, because they're working not 9 to 5, 24 hours a day now, because they're trading more time, but I'm not sure if there's more money or no. So what comes in here is delegation that you're saying, scaling. So if you can just walk us through your journey, how you got off that hamster wheel and started realizing, okay, I can start delegating, I can start trusting people and scale.
Yeah, so it wasn't like flipping on a switch. I had superhero syndrome. I thought, oh, no one's going to care as much as me. No one's going to do as well, good a job as me. And it took 5 years of, of doing this step by step by step. But then as I started tasting more and more freedom, I really loved it.
Mhm.
And it became more and more motivational. But those first few years were so hard. And you've got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the right person as well. And that's frustrating. And then you realize, oh, wait, I didn't document that. And I didn't have them document that. And then they leave and you got to start off from scratch. So I made
Mhm.
lots of mistakes in that time. But what I've learned now is that it's pretty simple to, especially with ChatGPT now, to create a playbook or a standard operating procedure and have these playbooks really drive the business and not the person.
Wow. So let's talk about your freedom shift, when once you got this taste of freedom that you were saying, when you taste it, it's like, okay, no looking back, let me get more of it, right? So earlier you mentioned you made yourself so insignificant for your own company, because even you leave tomorrow, the company's gonna run as is, like you gave us the example of the Apple or Google, right?
Right.
So it's like, others are running the company as a team though, right? But the company is one. So when you did that, so what changes you made when you started earning your time back, when you started scaling, basically, when you first tasted the freedom and after that, okay, let me get more. So what was that process like?
Yeah. So it's basically the swim lane process. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine a task as a swim lane. And
Mm-hmm.
I created all these swim lanes. And then I just put my name in each swim lane that what I was doing. And so as I
Mm-hmm.
broke down the business, swim lane to swim lane to swim lane, I started creating playbooks. So I would record myself
Mm-hmm.
doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that time, I would go on Fiverr and I would hire a technical writer to
Mm-hmm.
break down exactly what
Mm-hmm.
I was doing and create a step-by-step process. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would go on Upwork and create a test
And, mm-hmm.
and see, okay, who's really gonna, pass this test. So I'd hire 3 people and I'd keep 1. And oftentimes I would have maybe 2 for the first few weeks so that if that 1 didn't work out, I had the backup. So, the big thing in my company now is 2 is 1, 1 is none. And so we always want to have that backup person sort of waiting in the wings to run that playbook should something happen. And so it was really just doing that in that process. And that really got me to the point where I'm working about an hour a week in my business.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's shift the gear here a little bit. Let's talk about passive income a little bit. We were talking about, like if you have a W-2 job or you're a corporate employee, you just have a one stream of income. And sometimes, I think a lot of times, a lot of people, they just stay in that lane only all their life. And because they think, oh, I have something for future that's called 401k, my retirement plan, right? They rely 100% on that. And to their surprise, when they get to that level, that's not enough for them to survive. And these days, life expectancy is like, much higher than before. So people live longer. So for that, I think it's a really, really good idea to have multiple income streams. So in your experience, tell me from your experience, why do you think it's such a powerful tool, especially for the solo economic dependency? Like I'm going to use that terminology here because I just love that because you shared that with us. I wanted to use that over and over again. So what do you think, is so important and what steps actually people need to pursue it?
Yeah. So Vinki, you work with a lot of accredited investors,
Mm-hmm.
and relatively speaking, these are the top, 1 to 10% in the world of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yet, I bet you when you talk to them, they're still worried about money.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about it is that when you get to a point where you have cash flow, not cash flow, I think it's the antidote to this financial insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you hit that point, it's like, oh my gosh, my passive income exceeds my fixed expenses. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
200% above your fixed expenses or 500% above your
Mm-hmm.
fixed expenses. The stock market can do whatever it wants to do. It doesn't affect you. You
Mm-hmm.
can, get sick. It's not going to affect you. The passive income is really this true freedom in that sense, where if you want to travel around the world,
Mm-hmm.
that income's coming in. If you want to spend more time with your friends and your family and create those memories, that income's coming in. It doesn't stop. And I say that, but you have to build it once, right? So nothing really is passive. Would you agree?
I agree 100%. And you brought up a really, really good point on financial freedom because sometimes a lot of times, I think financial freedom is like a gimmick for most of the people. Like you mentioned, a lot of people, they are sitting a lot of money, they're accredited investors, but they're still worrying about the money. They have the financial freedom, but they are not mentally financially free because they're so attached to it. Financial freedom it's like relative, right? I think everybody has a different meaning to it. But for me, I'm going to say in a simple words, because it's like, as long as you are making more than whatever you need, your bills are being paid, it's like on autopilot, you're getting passive income, is being paid, is done. You're not worrying about anything. That's where you're just getting your time back. When you're getting the time back, that's a financial freedom right here, because that's the time to yourself to create more. Because God made us all co-creators with him. But we forget our superpower when we come here because we are so much worried about this and that.
No, it's so true, right? I mean, if you look at couples
Right.
and, like what are the 3 things they fight about the most? Money, sex, and the kids. Well, we can't help them with the other 2, but if we solve their money problems,
Exactly.
I think it ripples out and affects everyone in their life. They've got oceans of energy to really
Mhm.
figure out what's my true purpose in life.
Mhm.
And life is so insultingly short. You
Mhm.
might as well play the game as well as you can so that you can have as many great experiences with the people that you love in your life. Because at the end of the day, I really think that there's going to be two questions we ask. Was I loved and did I love? And everything else isn't going to matter.
That's so true. There's only the way I look at it, there's three things that I learned from my culture because my background is from India, very, very spiritual background. So there's three things we were taught from the very childhood, love, peace, and happiness. These are the only three things in your life that you need, because focus on that. And then
Right.
love you get from your family, your loved ones all around that. And then happiness is just like it's a daily decision, it's up to you. Like the wealthiest people might not be happy. They might have so much chaos going in their mind because they're lacking that rigid mindset or, kind of living in a box thinking I'm not happy. That's again a choice. And the peace comes with when you're contented or grounded, right? So then what happened is we attach all these things to the money. I don't have enough, I'm not happy. I don't have enough, I'm not peaceful. Okay, I do not have enough, I'm not lovable or I'm not being loved. Because people judging you around you, you feel like, okay, if you have more money, people are going to love you more. That's a myth, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I live in a place in Scottsdale, Arizona, where I see signaling all the time, where these people have crazy, $250,000 cars and $3 million condos and big watches. They walk around like, okay, we get it. You have money. And yet you can see on their face the stress and the anxiety because all those things can go away. And then what are they left with? Right. And so it's that emptiness, that void. And I actually went through it myself during the Great Recession,
Mm-hmm.
where I had what I call Parkinson's law of money. So the more money
Mm-hmm.
I made, the more money I spent. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized as I was going through it, well, it was never enough.
Mm-hmm.
There was someone with a bigger car, there's someone with a better house, there's someone going on better
Always.
vacations.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this external game I was playing. I was just trying to fill this void that I had of not feeling like enough. And so once I was able to sort of break through and sort of lose it all, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm spending more time with my family. I'm really enjoying
Mm-hmm.
not having any of this. And then you start playing the game. It's like when you don't care, more comes to you. And so it was a really interesting sort of progression to go through.
That's true. I think that's when you get into the creator mode, basically, like I was saying, we are the co-creators because when you're peaceful, when you're happy, and then there is some calmness in your mind, you create some space in your mind. And that's the time you're more creative. You get the ideas. Sometimes people say, oh, I never get idea. How come Steve Jobs was getting all the ideas? Because he was working on himself all his life, because I was trying to create that space in his mind and not getting caught with the life called chaos or the chaos called life, because
Right.
he was giving himself some time to be more creative or co-creator with God. But let's go back to our topic for today's topic, the raw land investing. So I wanted to ask you that from all different asset classes in real estate, we have multiple asset classes, multiple strategies, multiple ways to invest and multiply your money. Why did you think this is so unique and powerful and you picked this asset class?
I think for me, I love the fact that I'm just shuffling paper or touching keyboards and making money. I don't have to deal with anything physical and I don't have to deal with renters. So, I mean, Vicky, if you want, I can walk you step by step through my model so that
I
you
would
and the
love that.
listeners can replicate it. So, okay, where do you live?
I live in California,
You're in California. Okay,
in the Bay
so
Area.
in the Bay Area. Okay, so you've lost all complaining privileges, but we'll put that to the side for now. Okay, so let's assume that you own 5 acres of raw land where I live in
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, and
Mm-hmm.
you owe $200 in back taxes. So you're advertising two important things to me. Number one, you have no emotional attachment to the raw land. You're in California, the property's in Arizona. And number
Mm-hmm.
two, you're financially distressed in some weird way because we don't
Mm-hmm.
pay for things like our property taxes. We don't
Mm-hmm.
value them in the same way. As a
Mm-hmm.
result, the county treasurer keeps sending you notices saying, Vicky, if you don't pay your property taxes, you're going to lose that property to a tax
Mm-hmm.
deed or a tax lien investor. So
Mm-hmm.
all I'm going to do is look at the comparable sales on your 5 acre parcel for the last 12 to 18 months. I'm going to take the lowest comparable sale. Let's say it's $10,000 and
Mhm.
divide by 4. And that's going to get me what Warren Buffett would call a 300% margin of safety. So I'm going to send you an actual offer of $2,500.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
you accept it. Why?
Mhm.
Because for you,
Because,
$2,500 is better than nothing. In reality, 3 to 5% of people are going to accept my quote unquote top dollar offer. But now that you've accepted it, I have to go through due diligence or in-depth research. I have to confirm you still own the property. I have to make sure the back taxes are only $200. I want to make sure there's been no breaks in the chain of title, no liens or encumbrances. And so I outsource all that to my team in Jamaica. They're connected to an American title company. It costs about $11. If I was investing, say, more than $5,000, I would just close traditionally through a title company. But it's only $2,500. I'll take a little title risk. So let's assume everything checks out. So now I own the property. So Vinki, I'm going to sell this property 30 days or less. I'm going to make it cash flow like a rental home. So I have a built-in best buyer. Do you know who it is? The neighbors. The
oh, the
neighbors.
neighbors. Oh, okay. Yes, because that'd
Yeah.
be the best bet. Oh my God, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send out neighbor letters saying, hey, here's your opportunity. Protect your
Mhm.
privacy, protect your views, know your neighbor.
Mhm.
Oftentimes the neighbors will buy. Now, if they pass, I'm going to my buyer's list. The buyer's list passes. I go to a little website you may have heard of. It's called Meta or Facebook, buy sell groups in the marketplace. And then I'll go to the lands,
Mhm.
landmodo.com, land.com, landandfarm.com, landsamerica.com, landwatch.com, landflip.com. These are platforms where people buy and sell raw land. But the secret is in the pricing. So all
Mhm.
I'm going to ask for is a $2,500 down payment. And then I'll make it a car payment. So I'll say $2,500 down, $329 a month, and 9% interest the next 60 months. So Vinki, I get a one-time sale. I'm going to get my money out on the down payment. I could go 6 to 10 months out. Now I'm getting $329 a month and 9% interest the next 60 months. No renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. And because I'm not dealing with a tenant, I'm exempt from Dodd-Frank, Rest on the Safe Act, all this onerous real estate legislation. So that's a simple game. Can I create enough land notes where my passive income exceeds my fixed expenses, and then I'm working because I want to, not because I have to?
Wow. Is that simple, really?
It's
I mean,
simple, but it's not easy,
it's
right?
not that
I make it
easy.
sound easy, but it's very simple. But with inexpensive virtual assistants, software on the front end and software on the back end, 90% of this is automated. But to get to that point, it takes maybe 6 to 12 months to get that learning
Mhm.
curve, because you don't want to abdicate your business to inexpensive virtual assistants. You want to do it yourself.
Mhm.
And just like I was saying, record yourself, create that playbook, and then hand it off. But otherwise, it's
Yeah,
the blind leading the blind.
that's true. But how do you get your hands on to these properties that your software, it just like targets certain area and then tells you that this is like, kind of under kind of distress, I would call it, but it's not address, but distress where people are paying taxes and they don't want to pay. I mean, how do you target these land parcels basically for
So
purchase?
I'm going to look at number one, what's my budget? So when
Mhm.
I first start, I want to buy 5 to 7 parcels of land, and I'll start
Mhm.
with my budget. So if I have $20,000, well,
Mhm.
I can buy, $4,000 inexpensive purchase of land. But if I only have, say, $5,000, well, I can only
Mhm.
buy, I have to buy $1,000 pieces of land, which are
Mhm.
available in the rural US. But I would start at a website like landmodo.com. And I want to know definitively that there's a market there. So where are the other land investors buying? And then based on my budget, where can I buy 5 to 7 pieces of property? And then
Mhm.
I would contact a company like datatree.com or zamplo.com. I might go to the county assessor. I'm going to get a list of real property owners. And then I'm going to filter that list, say by use code, VL for vacant land. Now I got all the vacant land. And
Mhm.
now I'll put that into my software and I'll start
Mhm.
sending out offers.
Mhm. Wow. Wow. I'm trying to get my head wrap around it. That sounds so easy, but it's not. The other thing I read in your bio was that you mentioned you talk about 5 reasons why you should be creating passive income with land flipping or raw land development. So can you talk about that too? Your 5 reasons to get into this space?
Well, I think passive income solves a lot of problems. But
Mhm,
number one, when I think of passive income, I think of total freedom.
mhm,
So that's a really good place to start is what's your why? Why even
mhm,
do this? And
mhm,
if freedom is something a value that you're going to be, it has a priority, then this is worth the effort to create that passive income.
mhm,
But then within the model, I want to have as little headache as possible. So
mhm,
what I like about the land investing is I don't have to deal with the renter, number one.
mhm,
Number two, I don't have to deal with any contractors as well. So I'm taking what is traditionally a headache in real estate and eliminating those headaches. So that's another reason that I want to have this passive income and this machine, because life is so short. If I can create as few headaches as possible, that's great. And another reason is I can automate it. So again, with software, I can automate my
Yes.
passive income. So we'll use a website like LGPass.com, which is
Mhm,
our customer relationship manager and sort of runs the front end of our business. And we'll use
mhm.
GeekPay.io, which is a set it and forget it payment system to keep getting those payments every month from our borrowers. And so as we go and start looking at all the value that we're creating by buying selling raw land, we're getting for ourselves not just a business, but a business that's going to provide us freedom so that we
Mhm.
can move up Maslow's hierarchy of needs into self-actualization.
Wow, I love that. So I'm going to ask you here, if somebody's looking to start um, to build a passive income stream via this land deals or land flipping, what are some of the steps they should follow to begin with?
I mean, I think the first one is let's make sure we're in the right market
Mhm,
and go to a website like landmodo.com, because if you don't get your county research right, you're not in the right market, it doesn't really matter how great your due diligence is or how great your marketing is, how great your sales are, because you're not in the right market. And so
mhm.
I would say that's the first key component, is making sure that you're in an area where you know definitively you're going to be able to get sales. So that would be number one. And
But
then,
what is the right market for you from your experience?
well, I mean, Vinki, let's face it, nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I like some raw land in Iowa today, unless you
Mhm,
live in Iowa. So we want to focus on markets like the Sunshine States. So Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Texas, California, Arizona, New Mexico, and then a little bit in the Northwest, uh, Washington, Oregon, and then Florida as well. And then beautiful parts of the Midwest are going to be our biggest buyer pool. Imagine you're freezing right now in New York City, and you're sick of the traffic and you're sick of the people, and you look at this beautiful rural piece of land that you can afford. It's irresistible.
So target the markets where you see more basic things like job growth, population growth, like emerging markets. That's what the target markets are?
No,
No?
those are all nice to have, but I really want to buy the asset 25, 30 cents on the dollar. And I know if I'm buying it right, I'm making my money on the buy. There's someone else on the other end of that deal, whether or not that area is, you know, stagnant, growing, not growing. There's someone out there that would love to own that affordable piece of raw land.
So what is the key piece of advice here, like that makes that area so lucrative, you think, okay, it's gonna make money. If it's not the job growth or population growth, these are not the factors for consideration.
Yeah, so the consideration is number one, what is compelling about the property? Are there
Mhm,
restrictions or they're not restrictions? So I
mhm,
like to buy property that has no restrictions. So someone
mhm,
can go out there and they can park their RV, they can
mhm,
camp, they can hunt,
mhm,
they can
mhm.
fish. And so as long as there's something compelling about the property, I've been doing this long enough. I know that there's literally a pig for every barn.
Right.
I once bought a property on the side of a mountain in New Mexico, and it was 40 acres. I paid $2,500 for it. I thought, no one's going to buy this property. I made a mistake in due diligence. It's literally 15 acres of it are accessible. The 25 acres are on a mountain. And so I put it up on eBay with $1 no bid. I thought, oh, if I get my money out, I'll be happy. After 10 days, it was at $32,500. And I'm worried, did I misrepresent this property? So I called the winning bidder. I said, hey, you realize this is on the side of a mountain? He's like, it's perfect. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm a film director in LA. And I wanted to film out there and I don't want to deal with getting permits with the county. So this was cheaper and quicker than dealing with the county. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great.
Wow, seriously? Oh my God. So you can sell the land on eBay? I thought those were all the fake ads on eBay.
Well,
If it is
this
something like
this is
that.
back in the day. I don't do that anymore. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow, interesting. So what are some of the misconceptions or the fears people have about uh, raw land flipping
I
or
think the
getting into a
biggest,
deal like that?
yeah, because the biggest fear is, and let's be honest, the great thing about real estate is everybody needs a place to live.
Exactly.
And nobody needs a piece of raw land.
Hmm.
I mean, but if you look at our lives, 99% of what we have, we don't need, we want. And so there's a lust for land in this country.
Hmm.
So, but I think the big fear when people start is like, well, who's going to buy this? And if you don't like raw land or rural land, and you look out like, oh, this is land in the middle of nowhere, well, that's cool. You're not the buyer. For example, I don't eat McDonald's, but 1 billion people love McDonald's. But it doesn't mean
Exactly.
I wouldn't own a McDonald's franchise. So I think that's the first is the big hang up is who's going to buy this if I'm not going to buy it?
Wow, you brought in like a really good example here about McDonald. Again, this is like something, the mindset related or mindset shift. So I'm going to ask you a question related to that. How does shifting away from this, we call solo economic dependency, that's what the name of our topic for today, a topic of discussion. So how can you change your way of thinking? Because, when you're working in a W-2 job, in a corporate environment for maybe 10 years, 20 years, you're kind of pigeonholed. So by default, your mindset gets limited, it's like without realizing it. You think, oh yeah, I'm thinking big, I'm the almighty, I'm on top of the world without having the awareness that you were just like maybe like a smaller little thing in a hole, in a hole, in a hole. You don't even know where you are, basically. So opening up your horizon or, making yourself receivable to all these opportunities out there for yourself, including the land opportunities like you're talking about. What did you do or how somebody can do? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I think you gave the best advice in your question. It is just awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And to expand that awareness, I love that Oliver Wendell Holmes quote, a mind once expanded can't go back to its original
Exactly.
state. And
Mm-hmm.
so to start expanding your mind, you listen to podcasts like this. Maybe you go to a Tony Robbins seminar. Maybe you read a book
Mm-hmm.
like The Power of Now or The
Mm-hmm.
Untethered Soul. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you pick up a meditation practice and you start watching your thoughts and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm constantly thinking. And you
Mm-hmm.
have this awareness that that's not me. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like me, but I'm not my thoughts. And so you start creating the space and then you start building up that awareness, and suddenly you see the matrix and you see, oh, I can play this game and enjoy it and not be attached to it and kind of be like a duck, calm and serene above the surface, but fiercely paddling below and really enjoying every single moment of life.
Oh my God, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. Seriously, that's the best advice that you can give. So for someone listening who feels stuck in their paycheck, day-to-day job, so the advice is to get more aware, just get more grounded, create some self-awareness for yourself, and that mind shift is going to happen. I think it's years of work on yourself. So basically focusing on yourself, like I was saying earlier before the recording here, where attention goes, energy flows. And trust me, if you start focusing on yourself, energy is going to start flowing inwards and you'll figure it out, right? So share one
Yes.
more golden nugget, like you didn't share enough. So share one more golden nugget.
About awareness or
Anything, whatever works
anything
for you. You're
mindset.
so successful. 6,000 parcels of land. Oh my God, I'm amazed on that journey.
Okay, so I think for me, you hit a point where you realize a lot of your striving is egoic. So David Brooks wrote this book called The Second Mountain. And the
Mhm,
first mountain is very egoic. And our culture
mhm,
says, oh, study hard in school, get a good education, go get a
mhm.
good job, and then go get the things, get the big house, get the nice cars, go on the nice vacations, get the private school. And you go up that mountain if you're lucky. You get to the top of it, you're like, this is empty.
Exactly.
And nothing really satisfies. So you
Exactly.
go to the second mountain, and the second mountain is a harder mountain to climb, but there's no top, and it's way more fulfilling. It's other focused. It's about vocation. It's
Mhm.
about your relationships, love, and intimacy. It's about your community. It's about your faith and spirituality. And as you climb that mountain, it's way more fulfilling because you're you are playing a completely different game.
That's true. You said it very well. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Life is a journey. So once you learn the process, when you're in the process, when you start enjoying the process, the things are much easier. Because you're not striving for some goal, okay, like, oh, I'm gonna get there, then I'm gonna be happy, or I'm gonna get there, then I'll be peace, or I'm gonna be loud when I get there. You have everything right here, right now. Thanks
Yeah,
for
it's
sharing.
it's it's such an internal game. I think when you're younger, you suffer because you think those things like, oh, I'll be happy when, and then
Mm-hmm.
you get the thing, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, wait, that wasn't it, and we just keep we keep moving the goalposts. And so, what if there is no goalpost, and you just are living in the moment, and you're playing the game, and you're not attached to the results? You're
Mhm.
already happy. You already have everything that you absolutely need. You realize it, you know it. And then whether you get that thing or not, it doesn't affect your peace of mind.
That's true. I agree. Wow, what a wisdom right there. So this brings us to our rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer it in one word or one sentence only. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first question is, what is one of the most important thing you have learned in your life? And how did your life change after learning it?
I learned meditation, and I can be at peace, and I have almost no anger.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that. So, recommend one good book to my audience. You already said multiple names. Share one more that you really loved and then it helped you change you.
I love The One Thing by Gary Keller, and it's just a brilliant book.
Yes, I have that one too. Thank you for sharing that one. In one word, what does life mean to you?
Peace,
That's a good one. What is your biggest passion?
helping other people,
I think that's so noble. Thank you. If you could turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself and why?
learn to meditate, and
You. Yes,
oh
I
yeah,
like that.
yeah, and because once you realize that there is no you, and these thoughts are coming and going, I could have enjoyed the journey so much more and not suffered as much as I did.
Thanks, Mark. Oh my God, what a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed our conversation today. From land flipping to all the way to spiritualism and mindset. I love that. Thank you so much for being with me today. So share with me, how can people reach out to you?
I think the best place to go is thelandgeek.com. And I have a special link for your listeners if they want to dive deeper into the model. I wrote a book called Dirt Rich. I'd love to offer your listeners that book for free. They just have to pay for shipping.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks again for being with me today.
Thanks, Vinki.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Real Estate Vibe Show. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with anyone looking to elevate their real estate investing game. Until next time, stay focused, stay inspired, and keep building your real estate vibe. Thanks again.